My wife maxed out all of my son's credit cards and stole $5,000 from his education money. She abandoned us as soon as I confronted her. Full custody, and my life's most significant promotion were mine 6 months later. Help. I never imagined I'd have to tell this story, but here I am. My name is Nicholas and I've been married to Margaret for 10 years. Margaret is 36 years old. Margaret and I met when Alex was 6 years old, and we have 2 children together, my son Alex, who is 16 months old, and our daughter Emma, who is 8 years old. I was a working father juggling the responsibilities of a home and a career. Margaret was like a swish of wind that swept into our life. From the very beginning, Alex adored her because she was lively and entertaining. After 2 years of dating, we tied the knot, and Emma was born a few years after that. I felt like our life was perfect. There were good times and bad. But isn't that true of any family? For as long as anyone can remember, Margaret has been a little carefree with her finances. Gifts for the kids, whether planned or unexpected, are her favorite things to buy. Even though it meant we had to be more frugal at the end of the month, I used to think it was cute. When it comes to that, Alex and Margaret have always been different. The quality of extreme fiscal responsibility that he received from my mom is evident in him. Like her, my mom was a single parent who instilled in me the importance of saving money. I've done my best to instill such values in Alex, and he seems to have absorbed them. The neighborhood grocery store was Alex's first employer last year. A college savings plan was something he was very eager to begin. I said to Margaret that we would equal his savings dollar for dollar. In this way, we hoped to inspire him to keep working hard and provide for his future. Alex gave his all to the job, working overtime whenever he could. I was incredibly impressed by his commitment. Right up until last week, everything was fine. I found some inconsistencies in Alex's college fund while reviewing our monthly budget. The amount due was far smaller than it ought to have been. It seemed like a mistake at first. In my pursuit of understanding where we had erred, I devoted several hours to reviewing the figures. That's when I uncovered a string of withdrawals totaling nearly $5,000 made over the previous 6 months. It broke my heart to learn that Margaret had made the withdrawals. Once the kids were in bed for the night, I approached her. The expression, a blend of shame, terror, and resistance on her face when I presented her with the bank statements, remains with me to this day. As she sobbed, she confessed that she had been concealing her credit card debt and had been using the money to pay it off. My mind was blown. I had assumed that about money, Margaret and I have always been completely forthright. Since we tied the knot, we've maintained joint accounts. I began to doubt everything when I thought about how long she had been concealing her debt from me, maybe even years. I was urged not to inform Alex by Margaret. Their relationship, she said, would be irreparably damaged. They've hit it off from the start. After his original mother abandoned him when he was a newborn, Alex's stepmother, Margaret, has taken on a more maternal role. It sickened me to think of breaking that connection. However, what if Alex found out? His efforts and sacrifices have been immense. He has a right to know the reality. How about Emma, though? We can't expect her mother to be an example of integrity and accountability if she steals and lies herself. Margaret said she would repay the money, but I don't see it happening. Right now, we aren't exactly flush with cash. Neither Margaret's part-time job at a boutique nor my job as manager at a nearby plant generate much income. Despite our lack of wealth, we have always been comfortable. Attempting to gather my thoughts, I drifted aimlessly over the following few days. Work was a struggle for me. In my mind, I kept going over every detail of our connection, trying to figure out whether there were any clues I had overlooked. Was this exactly how Margaret was all along and I was blind to it? If not, has anything changed? Margaret lost it the moment I mentioned that I was thinking about telling Alex the truth. I was attempting to incite him to betray her, she said. She insisted that, as his stepmother, she was entitled to the inheritance in the same way he was. My mind was blown. I never married this woman. I never knew Margaret who would ever claim ownership of Alex's hard-earned cash. Margaret is now avoiding eye contact with me. She assures me that I'm being too dramatic and that families support one another. My gut tells me this won't make a difference. Somehow, it tastes like treachery. Last month, Alex accomplished his savings goal, and I can't stop thinking about how thrilled he was. He mentioned the possibility of purchasing a more capable laptop for school or having additional funds for books. It breaks my heart to think about putting a damper on his aspirations. I have concerns over Emma as well. At this age, she is beginning to grasp the concept of money and admires her older brother. How do I break the news to her without causing tension in her mother-daughter relationship? For our marriage and Margaret's money problems, I've thought about recommending counseling. Margaret, though, is adamantly opposed, claiming that it is pointless and that I am exaggerating a trivial matter. No matter how many times I ask, she remains evasive about how she intends to repay the loan. My feelings for my wife are conflicted with my responsibility to keep my children safe. Never in a million years did I think I'd face a choice like this. My job and health are both being impacted by the stress. It's been days since I slept at all. Reminiscing about my own upbringing is impossible to resist. I grew up in a household where my mom worked 2 jobs just to make ends meet. Honesty and hard effort are 2 things she instilled in me. How would she perceive this scenario? If I even think about telling Alex, I'll be betraying her. On the other hand, our family comes to mind. Though we've had our share of issues, we've remained close. In our house, Sunday dinners are sacred, and every Friday we have game evenings. I can't stand the idea of destroying our family over this. What should I do next? I have no idea. Should I risk our family's destruction by telling Alex the truth? Shall I provide Margaret an opportunity to rectify the situation? On the other hand, how about I start thinking about more extreme options to safeguard my children and our finances? Being a decent husband and father has always been my greatest source of personal pride. It seemed like I was on the right track, supporting my family and instilling strong moral principles in my children. In their eyes, I have let them down. I would much appreciate any suggestions. My head is spinning, I have no idea what to do, I feel like I'm sinking. First update. I would want to say that things have improved in the week after my last post, but alas, that is not the case. I chose to tell Alex the truth about what happened to his college fund after days of agonizing about what to do. I couldn't bring myself to keep deceiving him, particularly in light of what he has accomplished. Last Saturday, I went to Alex's room and sat him down. As I describe the scenario, I can clearly picture his expression: bewilderment, shock, and finally rage. He initially took it as a joke. Subsequently, he became abnormally silent. When he asked me why Margaret would treat him this way, I was at a loss for words. Beholding the fading brightness in his eyes was the most challenging aspect. As a child, Alex has always had a positive outlook, constantly anticipating what's to come. However, at that same second, I noticed a shift in him. My heart shattered once again when he inquired whether this meant he couldn't attend college. The news that I had informed Alex reached Margaret later that day. She went totally insane. I had betrayed her and ruined her connection with Alex, she said. And she yelled at me. She said I never truly accepted her as Alex's mother, and that I loved Alex more than she and Emma. It seemed as if pent-up animosity finally broke through. After that, she surprised me with her actions. With a bag in hand, she departed. She claimed she couldn't be with anyone who didn't trust her and needed time alone to ponder. My mind was blown. She has never walked out like this in all our years together, not even during our worst fights. Ever since the news broke, Alex has kept to himself. I can't believe he stopped bringing up college at all. Whenever we were in class together, he would go on and on about the many groups and programs he was considering. Presently, he utters almost no words. I hope he knows that I've assured him that we will find a solution. His disappointment, meanwhile, is plain to perceive. Emma is perplexed and keeps inquiring about her mother's whereabouts. At the tender age of 8, Margaret has never before been absent for more than a day. I've done my best to keep her from hearing about the fight between her parents by using language she can understand, but it's still hard to keep the tension in the house at bay. Worse yet, I learned that there is much more to Margaret's spending problems than what I had imagined. In her absence, I began reviewing our financial records in an effort to get perspective. I discovered a stack of unopened invoices, concealed in her dresser at that moment. Unbeknownst to me, we had more than $20,000 in credit card debt. It's too much for me to handle on my own. Working full-time, taking care of the kids, and attempting to get out of this financial bind has left me exhausted. To help out, Alex has offered to work additional hours at his job. But I don't want him to put his studies on the back burner. Because of this predicament, he has already lost a lot of money. It took Margaret 3 days, but she returned at last, ignoring the events that transpired. I attempted to bring up the invoices I discovered with her, but she became defensive and accused me of eavesdropping. Neither therapy nor the recognition that she has an issue are options she is willing to entertain. She insisted I'm being overly dramatic because a lot of households had debt. This is about more than simply the money, I'm beginning to see. Margaret exhibits irrational conduct and shows no signs of regret. I attempt to bring up my concerns about her mental health, but she always ignores me. Like I'm sharing a house with an unknown person. Concerning staying with his biological mother, Alex wanted to know if it would be possible. I feel terrible about it, but I know he needs to get away from it all. Although his mother was absent for a lot of his formative years, the two have been making efforts to mend fences in recent years. I really hope this doesn't ruin our friendship for good. My worst fear is that Alex and I will grow apart because of how close we have always been. I have contacted a financial expert in an effort to gain a better understanding of our current circumstances. I had no idea the debt was this bad. Plus, I have no idea how we will escape this jam. It feels like conceding defeat that the advisor even brought up the possibility of bankruptcy. One question remains at the center of all this. Will Margaret ever earn my confidence again? I don't think I can get over this treachery, even if we pay Alex back and fix our finances. Seeing the pain in Alex's eyes from when I told him the truth haunts me every time I gaze at her. For the sake of the kids, I'm trying to keep it together, but deep down, I'm crumbling. I never imagined I'd be contemplating divorce, but I'm beginning to believe it could be the sole solution to safeguard my children and myself. I can't even begin to fathom how we might recover from this. The idea of severing our family breaks my heart. Second update in the month after I last wrote. I faced some of my most difficult decisions. I have chosen to end my relationship with Margaret after much thought and many heated arguments. The last straw was when I found out that Margaret had created a credit card under Alex's identity. Despite her claims that she was attempting to assist him in establishing his credit, the $3,000 balance revealed otherwise. I knew then that she wasn't someone I could entrust with our family's money or our kids' future. I've vacated our home and taken up residence in a cozy apartment close by. It's not a lot, but it's the best I can do with my current budget. Emma spends some time with both of us, but Alex has chosen to live with me full-time. It has been quite a transition, particularly for Emma, who is still confused about all that is going on. Our family is falling apart because of my overreaction. Margaret has been claiming to anyone who would listen. Over and over again, her relatives have contacted me through phone and text to accuse me of being harsh and unkind. So, apparently I'm wasting my marriage of 10 years over a financial dispute. Attempting to describe the matter multiple times has been extremely taxing. Fortunately, this experience has only served to strengthen the bond between Alex and me. Regarding the entire matter, he has displayed remarkable maturity. The significance of being financially literate, as well as trust and accountability, have been major themes in our discussions. Despite how difficult it is, I am attempting to turn this into a learning experience. I've been collaborating with an attorney to safeguard our possessions and prevent Margaret from gaining access to any of our financial accounts. The legitimacy of the credit card that she obtained under Alex's identity is another area of investigation. We may have an identity theft case, according to the lawyer, but pressing charges might land Margaret in prison. Despite her best efforts, I still feel unprepared to take the leap. Our financial situation is precarious. To make ends meet, we've had to make some major cuts, and I'm working overtime. I sold my car and started taking the bus to work. I also cut out cable TV and eating out. Alex was adamant about putting aside a portion of his salary to assist with expenses, which upsets me and touches me. At his age, he ought not to be burdened with this. The change in living conditions is proving to be rather challenging for Emma. Nightmares and outbursts at school have been her recent struggles. Why she can't just live with either parent all the time baffles her. In the hopes that she will be able to make sense of everything that has happened, I have located a child therapist for her. Margaret has promised to seek help for her spending problems and has made feeble efforts at reconciliation. Her words and deeds are contradictory, though. Always looking for an excuse to deflect blame or downplay the significance of her acts, she stubbornly refuses to accept complete responsibility for her past mistakes. She begged me to return home last week when she unexpectedly showed up at my flat. She said I never loved her, and that I always prioritized Alex when I declined. Witnessing her rapid transformation from contrite to furious was awful. It's challenging, but I'm attempting to do things one day at a time. On occasion, I long for the days when we were closer, that we were as a family. I long for the days of our spontaneous living room dance parties and Sunday dinners together. The way Margaret looked at me before everything that transpired is something I long for. On the other hand, when I think of all the deceit and treachery, I am able to convince myself that this is the best decision for my family. Third update: a lot has transpired in the 6 months since I last reported this. Now that the divorce is final, Alex and Emma are fully in my custody. The procedure was disorganized. In the end, though, the court sided with me because of Margaret's careless handling of money. Things are looking up for Alex. He is so committed to paying off his student loans that he has neglected all other pursuits and is working extra hard. The strength he has shown has been inspiring. Many late nights have been spent discussing trust, relationships, and the future. Because of these talks, we are now closer than ever before. Emma is settling into our new routine bit by bit. She is making progress in treatment and is beginning to comprehend the rationale behind the separation. Even now, she experiences sorrowful moments. Generally, she's doing fine, but it's particularly difficult over the holidays. Things are looking up financially, though we are still struggling. Some of the financial burden has been lifted thanks to my promotion at work. The debts that Margaret left us are being paid off, however, slowly. Margaret has come and gone from our lives on occasion. After vanishing for a few weeks, she'll reappear promising revolutionary change. The kids are always let down by her, I'm learning to set hard boundaries for the sake of everyone involved, even if it's heartbreaking to see. In retrospect, I can see how much I learned and developed as a result of this. Trust, financial responsibility, and the value of open communication in relationships are some of the lessons I've learned from this sad experience. Recuperation and progress are my current priorities. Sunday game nights and monthly financial check-ins, where we talk about our budget and savings objectives as a family, are some new traditions that the kids and I have created. We're getting back on our feet little by little, but it's not always simple.